The chamber stretched before Haiyan-Wu like the mouth of some vast creature. Hundreds of alien forms floated in their designated zones, held aloft by the station's anti-gravity fields. Some were massive, hulking things with too many limbs. Others were small and delicate, glowing with bioluminescence. They all shared one thing in common. They were waiting for him to surrender. Haiyan-Wu. Kim walked alone across the polished floor. His boots echoed in the cavernous space. Behind him, the massive doors sealed shut with a hiss. Before him, 7 enormous platforms held the council members who ruled this part of the galaxy. He had been standing here for 3 months now, listening to their demands. Today was different. Today was the end. Vexthal spoke first. The insectoid creature's mandibles clicked together, creating sounds that the translation device converted into speech. Ambassador Kim, your 72 hours have nearly expired. We require your answer. The demand was simple. Humanity would surrender 12 colony worlds. Humanity would submit to council supervision. Humanity would restrict its military forces. Humanity would obey. They'd used this same strategy 47 times before. 47 species had bent the knee when faced with overwhelming force. Haiyan-Wu looked up at the Council Prime. I have Earth's response. It's excellent, Vexthal said. The satisfaction in his translated voice was obvious. We are prepared to be merciful. Your species will find service to the Council rewarding. Across the galaxy, aboard the human flagship Indomitable, Ji-Won Park sat at her communications station. Her screens flickered with intercepted Council transmissions. They were already planning the occupation. It's already dividing human territory among themselves. Already counting their victory. She keyed her mic.
Admiral, they think we're going to fold.
Admiral Taejong Choi stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and eyes that had seen combat. Of course they do. Every species in their database has surrendered when facing these odds. They don't understand us yet. Should I feel bad about that? Ji-Won asked. No, Taeyong said simply. Feel bad for them. Back in the council chamber, Haiyan-Wu reached into his jacket. Every weapon system in the room locked onto him instantly. He ignored them and pulled out a small data chip. He set it on the floor at his feet. The chip contains Earth's formal response to your ultimatum, he said. You may read it at your leisure. Vexthal leaned forward. Why not simply tell us now? Surely you have memorized your government's acceptance? Haiyan-Wu smiled. It was not a pleasant expression, because humanity does not negotiate from positions of weakness. And we certainly don't negotiate surrender. The chamber erupted. Illigit screeched and bellowed and howled in a dozen different languages. Vexthal's mandibles clacked together rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Orlax, the massive aquatic representative from the Moorish Empire, surged in his water tank. You cannot be serious, Orlax said. His voice bubbled through his breathing apparatus. We outnumber your forces 20 to 1. Our combined fleet could sterilize every human world in a matter of weeks. You have no choice but to accept our terms. You're right, Haiyan-Wu said. We have no choice. We're not the choice you think. He turned and walked toward the exit. Where are you going? Vexthal demanded. We have not dismissed you. Haiyan-Wu stopped at the doors. He looked back over his shoulder. You gave us 72 hours. That time is up. We gave you 3 months to realize you were making a mistake. That time is also up. I'm going home. Then you choose war, Vexthal said. No, Haiyan-Wu replied. You chose war 3 months ago when you demanded our surrender. We're just choosing not to lose it. The doors opened. Haiyan-Wu walked through them and didn't look back. Behind him, the council descended into chaos. His shuttle lifted off from Axiom Prime 30 minutes later. G1 tracked its trajectory from the Indomitable. Go. Ambassadors clear of the station. Taeyang nodded, signaled the fleet. Execute Operation Silent Thunder. Across human space, 47 warships received their orders simultaneously. They had been humanity's visible military strength for decades. Every council spy satellite had cataloged them. Every intelligence report had counted them. The council knew exactly where each ship was and what it carried. That was the point Captain Junho Lee commanded the stealth frigate Shadowfall. His ship didn't appear on any official registry. Neither did the 300 other vessels in humanity's hidden fleet. They had been built in secret, assembled, in the dark spaces between stars, powered down and waiting for this moment. "All stations report ready," his first officer said. June-Ho smiled. "Then let's go say hello." Quietly, on Earth. In a facility buried beneath 2 kilometers of rock, Dayun's song stood before a massive machine. It hummed with barely contained energy, drawing power from the planet's core itself. Technicians rushed around her, making final adjustments. "Project Deepgate is online," she reported. "We're ready when you give the word." "Not yet," came the reply from Orbital Command. "Let them come closer. Let them think they've won." The Council's armada began moving toward human space. 8,000 warships from 7 different species. It was the largest military force assembled in living memory. They came in tight formation, weapons charged, shields raised. They expected token resistance before the inevitable surrender. Dex, the Council's military coordinator, studied his tactical displays. Human vessels are scattering, running for their colonies. They know they cannot win. "Should we pursue?" his second asked. "No need," Dex said. "They have nowhere to go. We will take the colonies first, then hunt down the stragglers. This will be over in days." Vextel watched from his command ship. He felt satisfaction at the humans' flight. They had seemed so confident, so proud. Now they ran like all the others. In time, they would make good servants. Their technology was crude but showed promise. Under Council guidance, they might even become useful. A junior officer approached nervously. "Council Prime, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the human colonies." "What kind of readings?" "Massive power draws? Synchronized across all 12 worlds? Doesn't match any known weapon signature?" Vextel waved a dismissive limb. "It's probably powering up their planetary shields. It won't matter. Nothing can withstand our firepower." The officer hesitated. "Sir, we sent probes to investigate. They vanished when they crossed into human territory." "Equipment malfunction," Vexel said. "Continue the advance." 24 hours before the Council's ultimatum deadline, every human military vessel went dark simultaneously. No emissions, no communications, no trace signatures. They simply disappeared from every scanner in the galaxy. Dex stared at his suddenly empty tactical display. Where did they go? No one had an answer. And then, as the Council's armada closed, in on what they thought would be an easy victory, Earth's moon split open like a flower. What emerged made Vextel S3 hearts stop beating for a full second. It wasn't a moon at all. It was a door. The emergency session convened within an hour. Every council member attended, even those who rarely left their homeworlds. They gathered. In virtual space, their holographic forms filling the chamber where Hyan Wu had stood just days before. Vextel tried to maintain control. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of stress his species couldn't hide. "We must remain calm. Humans are attempting to deceive us with tricks and misdirection." "Tricks?" Relax's voice boomed through his water tank. "I have seen the sensor data. That lunar installation is real. Question is what's inside it." A junior analyst named Burahan appeared on the central display. She was human, one of the few who had chosen to work for the Council years ago. Her expression was carefully neutral. "Council members, I have completed my analysis of human psychology and history. I believe I can explain their behavior." "Please," Vexel said. "Explain why they choose extinction over reasonable terms." Biora pulled up images on the display. Ancient battles from Earth's past. Humans have a concept they call principle. It is not logical by our standards. Throughout their history, they have repeatedly fought against impossible odds rather than surrender. At a place called Thermopylae, 300 soldiers held off an army of thousands. At the Alamo, fewer than 200 fighters chose death over submission. At Stalingrad, an entire city refused to fall despite being surrounded and starving. "Primitive foolishness," Vextel said. "You're talking about their entire species. Surely their leaders are more rational than ancient warriors." Biora shook her head. "The pattern holds across all eras. When humanity believes a cause is just, survival becomes secondary to the principle at stake. You demanded their surrender. To them, this is worse than death." Kix, a being of pure light representing the luminary species, pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans truly prefer death to submission, forcing. The issue will result in catastrophic losses on both sides. No, Vextel said firmly. We cannot show weakness. 47 species have bent to our will. If we allow the humans to refuse, others will follow their example. Our authority will collapse. Across the galaxy, aboard the Indomitable, Giwan monitored every council transmission. Their encryption was good. Human encryption was better. She heard everything they said and reported it directly to Admiral Taeyang. They're scared, she said. The council is trying to convince themselves that we're bluffing. Taeyang studied the tactical display before him. Human ships were repositioning to coordinates that made no conventional sense. They weren't forming defensive lines or protecting the colonies. They were spreading out in a pattern that looked almost random. They'll learn soon enough. What's the status on Deepgate? Dayun reports full operational capacity, Giwan replied. She's waiting for your order. Not yet. We need them closer. We need them committed. Deep beneath Earth's surface, Dayun Song ran final calculations on her massive machine. Project Deepgate had consumed a decade of research and resources that the Council's spies never noticed. It was based on theoretical physics that most galactic species considered impossible. A technician approached her workstation. Dr. Song, if this doesn't work, we won't get another chance. The Council fleet will be in position to bombard our colonies in 18 hours. Do-Yoon didn't look up from her screens. It will work. We didn't spend 10 years and half our GDP on a theory. We spent it on a certainty. But quantum entanglement warfare has never been tested at this scale. That's what makes it interesting, Dayun said with a slight smile. On Axiom Prime. Dex coordinated the Council's armada movements. 8,000 ships advancing in textbook formation. His tactical displays showed the human colonies ahead, defended by nothing. The 47 known human warships had vanished completely. This is too easy, his second officer said. They must have a plan. Of course they have a plan, Dex replied. They plan to surrender at the last moment and try to negotiate better terms. It's a common tactic. We've seen it before. But the energy signatures from their colonies keep increasing, and those probes we sent never reported back. Dex considered this. Send another wave. Double the number. Let's see what's causing the interference. 20 probes launched toward the nearest human colony. They crossed the boundary of human space and immediately went offline. No explosion. No distress signal. They simply ceased to exist. That's not interference, the second officer said quietly. That's a weapons system. Before Dex could respond, his long-range sensors lit up with new contacts. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. Ships appearing on his display. It's like stars emerging from behind clouds. The Council had known about 47 human warships. That number had been verified by intelligence agencies across 7 species. Spies had photographed them. Tracking satellites had monitored them. The data was solid. The data was also completely wrong. Lunar Station 1's massive doors had opened fully now. Inside the construction bay, row after row of warships sat ready for launch. They were smaller than Council vessels, sleeker, built for speed and maneuverability rather than brute force. And there were thousands of them. Yang Sukong commanded the lunar defense grid from deep inside the station. He watched his screens fill with launch trajectories. All wings report ready for deployment. We have authorization? His second asked. Admiral Taeyang gave us a standing order. When the Council fleet crosses the line, we respond. They just crossed it. The first wave launched. 300 fighters that moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. They accelerated impossibly fast, turned impossibly tight, coordinated with impossible precision. Each one was piloted by a human whose reflexes had been enhanced by neural links to their ship's systems. Hae-Won-Im led the vanguard. Her fighter, named Revenant, responded to her thoughts as much as her controls. Strike Wing 1 is clear of the station. Moving to intercept coordinates. Behind her, the main fleet began launching. Not 47 ships, 4,700. Each one had been built in secret, hidden in construction bays scattered across the solar system. Some had been assembled in the dark between Mars and Jupiter. Others had been built beneath the ice of Europa. All of them had been waiting for this moment. Aboard the Indomitable, G1 updated her tactical displays in real time. "Admiral, our force estimates are being revised." "What are the new numbers?" Taeyong asked. "We outnumber them 3-1. Vextel stared at his own displays in disbelief. The numbers kept climbing. 3,000 human ships. 4,000. 5,000. This is impossible. We had complete intelligence coverage of their space. Where did these ships come from? Bora's voice came through the communication link. "Council Prime, I tried to warn you. Humans are exceptionally good at deception when they believe it necessary. And they've had 30 years to prepare. 30 years. The first council demands began 3 decades ago. Humans have long memories and longer planning horizons. While you thought you were negotiating, they were building a navy in secret." Kix pulsed urgently. "We must withdraw. Reassess. This changes everything," Xfel said. "We have 8,000 ships. Even if they have 5,000, we still hold numerical advantage. And our vessels are larger, more heavily armed. We will not show weakness." But the numbers kept climbing. 6,000. 7,000. And then the sensors detected something else. The human ships weren't just numerous. They were technologically superior. Point defense systems that could track thousands of targets simultaneously. Propulsion systems that violated known physics. And weapons that fired faster than light itself. Dex ran simulations on his tactical computer. Every scenario ended the same way. Council defeat. Total catastrophic defeat. "Council Prime, I must recommend we cease our advance. The tactical situation has changed dramatically." "Continue forward," Vextel commanded. "They are still just humans. One species cannot defeat 7. Captain Jun-Ho positioned his stealth squadron directly in the center of the Council formation. 30 ships, completely invisible to every sensor the Council possessed. They had been there for hours, waiting. "All ships, drop stealth on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." 30 human warships materialized inside the Council's armada, their weapons locked onto the surrounding vessels. And then, just as suddenly, they vanished again. Vex's heart nearly stopped. They were inside our formation. They could have destroyed dozens of ships. "But they didn't," his second said. "They just showed us they could." A transmission came through on all Council frequencies. It was Admiral Taeyang, his voice calm and measured. "Council fleet, this is your only warning. Reverse course immediately. Return to your space, or we will be forced to show you the difference between our demonstrated capability and our full strength." Vextel felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear, real, primal fear. But pride was stronger. "All ships, prepare to attack. Show these humans what happens to those who refuse the Council." Aboard the Indomitable, Taeyong received confirmation of the Council's decision. He closed his eyes for a moment, hoping they would choose wisdom. They hadn't. "Very well," he said quietly. "All ships, weapons free. But remember the rules of engagement. Disable, don't destroy. They're about to learn a lesson. Let's make sure they survive to remember it." The first Council volley lit up the darkness with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. Thousands of weapons fired simultaneously, all aimed at the human fleet's projected positions. It was a devastating display of firepower that should have turned hundreds of human ships into debris. Human losses. 0. Every single shot was either intercepted by point. Defense systems that moved faster than Council targeting computers could track, or evaded by ships that seemed to know where the weapons would be before they fired. The human vessels danced through the barrage like leaves in the wind, untouched. Dex stared at his display in disbelief. "That's impossible. We fired over 10,000 munitions. Something should have connected." His second officer's voice shook. "Sir, they're moving in a coordinated pattern. Every ship knows what every other ship is doing. They're acting as a single organism. Before Vex could respond, the human counterattack began. Hay-1 led her fighter squadron through the Ascent Council formation at speeds that should have liquefied her body. Neural interfaces translated her thoughts into movement faster than any manual control could achieve. Her wingmates moved with her in perfect synchronization, not because they were following orders, but because they were all connected through quantum-entangled communication systems. "Target the weapons arrays," she transmitted. "Engines secondary. Life support is off-limits." Her squadron acknowledged instantly. 30 fighters became a single weapon, each shot placed with surgical precision. Council warships found their weapon systems destroyed, their engines disabled, their shields collapsed, but their life support remained intact. Their crews survived. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. From the Indomitable, Admiral Taejong watched the engagement with calm eyes. Giwan sat at her station, monitoring thousands of data streams simultaneously. The quantum entanglement network let her see what every ship in the human fleet saw. Coordinate what every ship did, all in perfect real time. "Council ships are attempting to retreat," she reported. "Should we pursue?" "No," Taeyang said. "Let them run. We've made our point." The Vexel refused to accept reality. "All ships maintain attack formation. Concentrate fire on single targets. They cannot dodge everything." The Council fleet regrouped and fired again. This time, they focused their entire armada's firepower on one human destroyer. The ship should have been atomized. Instead, every other human vessel in range extended their shields to overlap with the targeted ship. The destroyer sat in the center of a shield bubble generated by 300 other vessels. The Council's weapons crashed against it and accomplished nothing. "They're sharing defensive systems across the entire fleet," Thex said quietly. "I've never seen coordination like this." Young-Soo coordinated the lunar defense grid with cold efficiency. His systems tracked every Council ship, every weapon, every movement. "Strike Wing 3. Council battleship at coordinates marking Delta 7 is attempting to flank. Intercept and disable." "Confirmed," came the instant reply. A squadron of human fighters peeled away from the main formation and engaged the battleship. Within seconds, its weapon systems were offline. The massive vessel drifted helplessly, unable to fight but still fully capable of sustaining its crew. On Earth, Dayun watched her screens with satisfaction. Project Deepgate was performing exactly as designed. Every human ship was connected through quantum-entangled particles, allowing them to share information instantly across any distance. Lightspeed lag didn't exist for humanity anymore. They operated as a true hive mind when necessary. Each ship an extension of a single tactical intelligence. "We're drawing a lot of power," a technician warned. "If we maintain this for more than 6 hours, we'll start affecting planetary systems." "We won't need 6 hours," Dayun replied. "This will be over soon." She was right. After 90 minutes of one-sided combat, the Council had lost 1,600 ships to disable damage. The humans had lost 4, and all 4 crews had been recovered by rescue shuttles before their ships were destroyed. Vex Thel finally accepted what his tactical officers had been telling him. "Ceasefire. Withdraw to rally point 7. "What about the disabled ships?" Orlax asked. "Leave them. We'll recover them later." But then something unexpected happened. As the Council fleet began its retreat, Admiral Taeyang gave a strange order. All ships form defensive perimeter around disabled Council vessels. Nothing gets through. Ji-Won looked at him in confusion. "Sir, we're protecting them?" "Long-range sensors just picked up something nasty," Taeyang said grimly. "The Kryn Dominion has been watching this fight, and they're about to try to profit from it." The Kryn were the galaxy's scavengers and opportunists. They never initiated wars, but always appeared when others were weakened. Their fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the battlefield, 3 times larger than the Council's armada had been. Their transmission was blunt. "Step aside, humans. This sector is now Kryn territory. The Council is weak. You are few. We will take what remains." Every Council officer felt their blood run cold. The Kryn didn't take prisoners. They didn't negotiate. They simply conquered and consumed. Vexthal broadcast to the Kryn fleet. We are the Galactic Council. You will withdraw immediately or face consequences. The Kryn response was laughter. You can barely defend yourselves. Your fleet is crippled. Accept your defeat, and Admiral Taeyang transmitted to both the Kryn and the Council. Council vessels, move behind human lines. We'll cover your withdrawal. Erlax couldn't believe what he was hearing. You would protect us? After we attacked you? You attacked us, Taeyang replied. The Kryn want to exterminate you. There's a difference. Move now, while you still can. Kix immediately ordered the Luminary ships to accept the human offer. The Tenthrax and Marish followed. Even Vexthal, pride warring with survival instinct, finally gave the order. The Council fleet moved behind human defensive lines. The Kryn saw this as weakness. The humans are few and far from home. They cannot defend two fleets. Attack. Junho positioned his stealth squadron for another surprise. They really don't learn, do they? Haewon's fighter group reformed for combat. These aren't the Council. These are predators. We can take the leash off. Negative, Admiral Taeyang said firmly. We're still trying to minimize casualties. Disable and repel. Don't annihilate. We're not becoming what they think we are. The Kryn fleet advanced with confidence. They outnumbered the humans significantly and had never lost a battle against. We can pray. That record was about to change. The human fleet moved to intercept. This time they weren't showing mercy to confused bureaucrats who thought they were doing the right thing. They were facing an empire that had built its wealth on the corpses of extinct species. The difference showed immediately. Human ships moved faster, hit harder, and coordinated with terrifying precision. The Kryn fleet might have been larger, but size meant nothing when every shot they fired missed, and every shot fired at them connected. Youngsu's lunar weapons finally entered the fight. Massive railguns that could strike targets across the solar system fired precisely calculated shots. Kryn ships found their engines destroyed at impossible range. Their formation collapsed into chaos as vessels collided with each other trying to evade. Weapons they couldn't see coming. Haewon led a penetration strike directly through the Kryn center. Her squadron moved so fast that the Kryn point defense couldn't even track them. Targeting command ship. Multiple strikes, synchronized impact. 30 fighters fired simultaneously. The Kryn flagship lost its bridge, engines, weapons, and communications in the same instant. The massive vessel went dark, drifting helplessly. Dayun increased power output from Deepgate. Admiral, I can give you full tactical coordination for another hour before we need to cycle down. You won't need an hour, Taejang replied. He was right. After 30 minutes of combat, the Kryn had lost a quarter of their fleet. Not destroyed, but disabled, drifting, helpless. And they hadn't destroyed a single human vessel. The Kryn commander transmitted a single word. Withdraw. The remaining ships fled into hyperspace, abandoning their disabled vessels without a second thought. In the silence that followed, Vexthal sat in his command chair and stared at the tactical display. The Council fleet sat safe behind human defensive lines. The Kryn fleet was scattered and running, and the humans maintained perfect formation, weapons ready, shields raised. They saved us, Orlac said quietly. After everything we did, they saved us. Kix pulsed softly. Perhaps we were wrong about them. About all of this, Vexthal watched as human recovery ships began collecting escape pods from disabled Kryn vessels. They were even saving their enemies' crews, an enemy that would have shown no such mercy. He opened a communication channel to the Indomitable. Admiral Taeyang, this is Council Prime Vexthal. I request formal parley under truce conditions. Taeyang appeared on the display. We accept. Meet us aboard the Indomitable in 2 hours. Come unarmed. We'll do the same. You trust us to honor that? Vexthal asked. No, Taeyang said honestly. But we're hoping you'll learn to trust us. That has to start somewhere. The transmission ended. Vexthal looked at his fellow council members. Prepare a delegation. We're going to negotiate. This time, in good faith. Ain't. The conference room aboard the Indomitable was nothing like the grand council chamber on Axiom Prime. It was a simple rectangular space with a long table, chairs adapted for various body types, and windows looking out at the stars. No anti-gravity fields, no ceremonial platforms. Just a room where people could talk. Vextel entered first, followed by Orlax in his mobile water tank, Kix in his containment field, and representatives from the other council species. They had left their weapons behind as promised. On the other side of the table sat Admiral Taeyang, Ambassador Hyunwoo, and three others they didn't recognize. "Sit," Hyunwoo said. Gesturing to the adapted chairs, the aliens settled uneasily. They were used to being the authority in any room. Now they sat as equals, perhaps even as the weaker party. Taeyang spoke first. "Before we begin, I want to make something clear. We didn't want this war. We don't want to rule you. We just want to exist without submission." "You could have destroyed our entire fleet," Vextel said quietly. "Why didn't you?" "Because destroyed ships can't learn from their mistakes," Hyunwoo replied. "And dead crews can't go home and tell their people what really happened here." One of the other humans stood up. She was small, wearing civilian clothing marked with scientific insignia. "I'm Dae-Yoon Song, Chief Science Officer." "Council Prime, you're wondering how we achieved technological superiority despite our shorter development period. May I explain?" Vextel gestured agreement with a complex limb movement. Dae-Yoon activated a holographic display. "Your species developed technology through competition. Each council member advances independently, shares only what benefits them, and guards their best discoveries as state secrets." "Is that accurate?" "Of course," Orlax said. "Why would we give advantages to potential rivals?" "Exactly," Dae-Yoon said. "You see each other as rivals even within the alliance. Humanity took a different approach. When we realized we weren't alone in the galaxy, every nation on Earth pooled their knowledge. Our best scientists, from every country and culture, worked together. We didn't care who got credit. We cared about results." She pulled up schematics of human ships. These vessels contained Chinese propulsion theory, Korean shield mathematics, American weapons design, European computer architecture, and African materials science. No single nation could have built them. But working together, we built 5,000. Another human stood. She wore the crisp uniform of intelligence services. "I'm Mi Sun-yoon, Director of Terran Intelligence. Council members, we've known about your resource crisis for 7 years. The council delegates shifted uncomfortably. "Your empire is collapsing," Masoon continued. "The 47 species you've absorbed have depleted their resources serving council needs. You need our colonies not because we're a threat, but because you're desperate. That's what this war was really about." Bextel wanted to deny it, but couldn't. "How did you know?" "Because we pay attention," Misan said. "We watched your trading patterns, monitored your resource shipments, analyzed your economic data, and we prepared. Not weapons, initially. We prepared aid packages, food, medicine, raw materials. We were waiting for you to ask for help. Instead, you demanded our surrender," Hyunwoo said. "That's when we built the weapons." Kix pulsed urgently. "You would have helped us?" "Why?" Dae-Yoon smiled. "Because a galaxy where species help each other is safer than one where empires consume their neighbors. We learned that lesson on Earth. It cost us millions of lives across 2 world wars, but we learned it." The smallest human at the table, an older woman with gray hair, stood next. "I'm Sujin Park, Professor of Xenorchaeology. I need to show you something that will change how you see this entire situation." She activated a new display showing DNA structures. 3 years ago, we found ruins on Mars, very old ruins. After we learned council genetic codes from your public databases, we compared them to human DNA. The results were shocking. The display showed a genetic map with highlighted similarities. "Humans are not native to Earth," Sujin said quietly. "We are a council species. 50,000 years ago, we were exiled and left on Earth with our memories wiped. We've spent that entire time redeveloping from scratch. The reason we refuse to submit to the council is because we already did that once. It didn't end well. Conference room fell into stunned silence. Vextel processed this information slowly. You're saying humans were once part of the council? Which species? We don't know, Sujin admitted. The records from that era are lost. But the genetic evidence is clear. Somewhere in your history, there was a species that refused to conform. That valued freedom over security. That couldn't be controlled. So they exiled us and tried to forget we ever existed. And now we're back, Hyenwu said. And we still won't submit, Erlax bubbled thoughtfully. If what you say is true, then the Council has made this same mistake before. We tried to crush independence 50,000 years ago, and it failed. It didn't just fail, Taeyang said. It created us. 50,000 years of independent development. 50,000 years of learning to cooperate instead of dominate. And now we're technologically superior to the empire that cast us out. Misan pulled up new data. We intercepted communications between council members before this war started. 3 of your species didn't want to attack us. The Luminari, Tenthrax, and Marish were forced into compliance through economic threats. That's not an alliance. That's an empire held together by fear. Kix couldn't deny it. You're right. I voted against war. We all did. But Vexel S species controls the resource distribution. When they threatened to cut off our supplies, we had no choice. You always have a choice, Hyenwu said. Sometimes it's just a choice between bad options and worse ones. We understand that better than most. Vexel felt something he rarely experienced. Shame. So what happens now? You have shown you can destroy us. Will you conquer the council and become what we were? No, Taeyang said firmly. We're going to make you an offer. Technology sharing. Resource assistance. Military alliance. But not as subordinates. As equals, what's the price? Vextal asked suspiciously. Reform. Hyenwu said. The council has to change. No more forced compliance. No more empire. Every species gets true autonomy. Cooperation becomes voluntary, not mandatory. You become a real alliance instead of a hierarchy. That would mean giving up control, Orlac said. Misan agreed. That's exactly what it means. You give up the power to force others to obey. In exchange, you get partners who want to work with you. Kix pulsed brightly. I support this proposal. The Luminari have long believed the Council's methods were wrong. We simply lack the courage to say it. Representatives from the Tenthrax and Marish quickly agreed. Even some of the other species showed interest. That left Vextel as the primary holdout. You're asking me to dismantle everything the Council has built, he said.
Oh, no.
Do-Yoon corrected. We're asking you to transform it into something better. Something that can actually last. Your current system's collapsing. You admitted that when you tried to take our colonies. This is a chance to save it by changing it. Vexel looked around the table at his fellow council members. He saw hope in their expressions. Hope for something better than the fear-based hierarchy they'd endured for centuries. He made his decision. I accept your terms, Vextel said. I will propose the dissolution of the current council structure and the formation of a new alliance based on voluntary cooperation. Hyenwu smiled. Then let's draft a treaty. A real one this time. One that benefits everyone. The negotiations lasted 3 days. In the end, they produced a document that changed the galaxy. The old Galactic Council would be dissolved. In its place, the Galactic Cooperative would form. Every species would have equal representation. No species could be forced to participate. Resources would be shared based on need, not hierarchy. And humanity would serve as guarantor, using their military might to protect any member from external threats or internal coercion. QYX was elected as the first Chancellor of the Cooperative. Hyenwu became humanity's permanent representative. Admiral Taeyang began organizing joint military training programs. G1 and BORA established cultural exchange programs to prevent future misunderstandings. Captain Junho received a new assignment. He would lead exploration missions into uncharted space, commanding crews that mixed humans and aliens. The goal was to find new allies and resources. Expanding the cooperative peacefully, young Su remained at Lunar Station 1, but now his weapons protected all cooperative members, not just humanity. And Dayun received funding from 7 different species to continue her research. The technological revolution was just beginning, as the delegations prepared to return to their homeworlds. Fixel approached Haiyan-Wu privately. "I need to know something," the insectoid said. "If we had not surrendered, if we had fought to the end, would you really have destroyed us?" Haiyan-Wu considered the question carefully. "Honestly, I don't know. We prepared for that possibility, but I think we would have found another way. We always do. Why? Because destroying you doesn't solve the problem. It just creates a vacuum that something worse fills. We learned that lesson too, the hard way." Bextel clicked his mandibles in what might have been laughter. "You are very strange beings, humans." "Yes," Haiyan-Wu agreed. "But that's what makes us useful. We're strange enough to think of solutions that never occurred to anyone else." 5 years later, Young-Su stood at his command station in Lunar Station 1 and watched the galaxy change. His displays showed not just human vessels anymore, but ships from 43 different species. All of them flew under the banner of the Galactic Cooperative. All of them were allies. "Incoming transmission from the 10th Rax Border Patrol," his communications officer reported. "They're requesting assistance with a damaged freighter." "Dispatch rescue teams," Young-Su ordered, "and send them our technical specs on that freighter model. Their engineering team can use our repair protocols." It was routine now. Species helping species without hesitation or calculation. The transformation had been slower than humanity hoped, but faster than the old council members expected. Trust took time to build, but once established, it grew exponentially. On Axiom Prime, at the cooperative headquarters, Haiyan-Wu reviewed the latest membership applications. 12 new species wanted to join. Each one had been oppressed by either the Kryn, Dominion, or other aggressive empires. Word had spread across the galaxy. There was an alliance that would protect you without enslaving you. Kix materialized beside him, his light form pulsing warmly. 12 more applications. We're growing faster than our integration systems can handle. "Good problems to have," Haiyan-Wu said. "Better than fighting wars. Kryn have withdrawn to their core systems," Kix reported. "Our intelligence suggests they're fortifying borders but not planning offensive operations." "They learned their lesson," Haiyan-Wu said. "Attack one cooperative member, and you fight all of them. Even the Kryn aren't stupid enough to take those odds." Guan had become the director of cooperative intelligence, working alongside Bawar to coordinate information sharing between species. They sat together in an office that blended human and Luminary design, reviewing reports from across the galaxy. "The economic integration is proceeding well," Biora noted. "Trade between member species has increased by 300% since the cooperative formed." "That's because everyone actually benefits now," Giwan said. "The old council extracted resources from weaker members. We help each member develop their strengths. Turns out people are more willing to trade when it's fair." Biora smiled. "Revolutionary concept." On the bridge of the exploration vessel Pioneer, Captain Junho commanded a crew of 30 beings from 11 different species. They had just discovered their 3rd habitable world this year, and this one showed signs of intelligent life. "Analysis complete," his 10th Rack science officer reported. "Pre-industrial civilization. Approximately equivalent to Earth's 19th century in development. Standard protocol," Junho ordered. "We observe, but don't contact. We'll mark the system as protected and come back in 100 years to see if they've developed space travel." His Marish navigator bubbled agreement. "The old council would have conquered them immediately." "The old council was stupid," Junho said bluntly. "You can't build lasting alliances by forcing people to join." Deep in the research complex on Europa, Dayun worked with scientists from 17 different species on the next generation of technology. Quantum entanglement communication had been just the beginning. Now they were developing faster than light travel that didn't require dangerous hyperspace. Jumps. A Vril researcher approached her workstation. He was Vextel's nephew, part of the younger generation that embraced cooperation over domination. Dr. Song, the latest test results are promising. We should achieve stable wormhole generation within 2 years. Excellent, Dayun said. Make sure all team members get the data. This is a group achievement, not an individual one. The Vril clicked his mandibles happily. His uncle had told him stories about how humans insisted on sharing credit and knowledge. He hadn't believed it until he joined this research team. Taeyong had retired from active military command, but remained as the cooperative's strategic advisor. He spent most of his time training the Joint Defense Force, teaching officers from dozens of species how to coordinate as effectively as humanity had during the war. Today he lectured at the Cooperative Military Academy. Speaking to a class of mixed-species cadets, the key to our victory wasn't superior technology, he explained. It was superior cooperation. Every human ship knew what every other ship was doing. We trusted each other completely. That trust made us unstoppable. A young luminary cadet raised a limb. But how do you build that trust between species who barely know each other? The same way you build it between people, Taeyong replied. You start small. You help each other with minor things. You prove you're reliable. Over time, that trust grows. 5 years ago, could I have imagined commanding a fleet with Vril officers? No, but I've worked alongside them now. I've seen their dedication. I trust them. Haewon had become the lead instructor for the fighter pilot program. Her class included students from 20 different species, all learning to use the neural interface systems that made human pilots so effective. The interface is just a tool, she told her students. What matters is your connection with your wingmates. You need to know them so well that you can predict their moves. Trust them so completely that you'll fly into danger knowing they'll cover you. A 10th rank student raised a claw. Instructor Im, what if our wingmate is from a species we historically had conflicts with? Then you work through it, Haewon said firmly. In combat, your wingmate species doesn't matter. Only their skill and their reliability. I've flown with Vril, Marish, and Luminari pilots. All of them saved my life at some point. That erases a lot of history. Mysoon had expanded her intelligence network to include cooperative members from every species. Her office received reports from across the galaxy watching for threats to the cooperative security. We have a situation, she told Hyenwoo during their weekly briefing. A species called the Drax are being oppressed by a neighbor empire. They've requested cooperative protection. Are they willing to join the cooperative? Hyenwoo asked. Yes, but defending them means confronting the Helter Empire. They have a fleet comparable to what the Kryn had. Hyenwoo considered this. What does Kix think? He believes we should help them. The cooperative's founding principle is protecting those who can't protect themselves. Then we help them, Hanwoo decided. Send a diplomatic mission first. Offer the Helter a choice. Leave the Drax alone and trade with us peacefully, or face our fleet. The Helter chose poorly. They attacked the diplomatic mission, Admiral Taeyong's replacement. A joint command structure with officers from 5 species assembled the cooperative fleet. It was an impressive sight, human ships flying alongside Vril. 10 Thrax vessels coordinating with Marish, Luminari, support craft protecting them all. The battle was brief. The Helter fleet faced the same impossible coordination humanity had demonstrated 5 years earlier. But this time, it wasn't just humans. It was 43 species working as one. The Helter surrendered within hours. Like the council before them, they were given a choice: reform and join the cooperative, or remain isolated. They chose to reform. The Drax became the 44th member species. The Helter, after significant internal changes, became the 45th. On the anniversary of the war's end, Young-Soo broadcast a message from Lunar Station 1. It went out to every cooperative world, to billions of beings across the galaxy. 5 years ago, humanity stood on the edge of extinction. The Council demanded our surrender. We refused, not because we wanted war, but because we believed freedom was worth fighting for. Today, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. And we're not alone. The display behind him showed the cooperative's expansion over 5 years. 7 species becoming 45. 8,000 square light years becoming 80,000. This is what cooperation builds, Yongsu continued. The old council ruled through fear. They extracted and dominated. They created enemies. The cooperative works through partnership. We share and elevate. We create allies. Every species brings something unique. Every member makes us stronger. He paused, looking directly at the camera. To those watching from outside the cooperative, you have a choice. Join us as equals, trade with us as partners, or leave us alone. Those are the only options. We will not conquer you. We will not force you to submit, but we will defend ourselves and our allies with everything we have. And to our members, thank you for trusting us. Thank you for taking a chance on something new. Together, we're building a galaxy where species don't have to choose between freedom and security, where cooperation is stronger than domination, where different doesn't mean enemy. The old council chamber now converted into a museum. A monument stood where Heian Wu had rejected the surrender demand. The plaque bore a simple inscription in 70 languages. Here, one species said no to subjugation. In the galaxy, learn to say yes to freedom. Vextel visited the monument often. Today he brought his nephew, the young researcher working with Dayun. Do you regret it? The nephew asked. Giving up the council's power? Vextel clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. I regret that it took humanity's guns pointed at us to learn what we should have known all along. Power without consent is tyranny, and tyranny always fails eventually. The humans could have become tyrants themselves, the nephew observed. They had the power. Yes, Vextel agreed. That's what makes them remarkable. They had overwhelming force and chose not to use it for conquest. They could have ruled the galaxy. Instead, they convinced the galaxy to rule itself. Far from the cooperative's core, in the darkness between galaxies, Junho's exploration vessel detected something massive. A structure, artificial, older than any known civilization. All hands 2 stations, he ordered calmly. We may have just found something important. Or dangerous. Possibly both. His mixed-species crew responded with practiced efficiency. Human, Vril, Luminari, Tenthrax, and others working together perfectly. Send a message to Cooperative Headquarters, Junho said. Tell them we've found something that requires further investigation. Request science team and support vessels. His Marish executive officer bubbled a question. Should we withdraw until backup arrives? Junho smiled. No, we'll start initial scans. But carefully. Humanity has learned that sometimes the biggest threats come from rushing into things without preparation. Back on Earth, in a small apartment, Heian Wu sat with his family and watched the news. Reports showed cooperative ships helping rebuild a world devastated by natural disaster. Different species working side by side, saving lives together. His daughter asked him a question. Papa, do you think the galaxy will always be peaceful now? Heian Wu pulled her close. No, sweetheart. There will always be challenges. Always threats. But we've shown that different species can work together when they choose to. That's worth more than any weapon. That's the foundation of something lasting. Like what? Like a galaxy where your children won't have to fight the wars we fought. Where they can explore and learn and build instead of defend and destroy? She smiled. That sounds nice. Does. Heian Wu agreed. And because we refused to negotiate our freedom, because we stood firm when it mattered, we're actually going to achieve it. Above Earth, Lunar Station 1's weapons remained ready. The fleet stayed prepared. Dayun's research continued developing better technology, because the cooperative understood one crucial truth that humanity had taught them. Peace isn't the absence of weapons. Peace is having the strength to defend what matters and the wisdom to use that strength for protection instead of conquest. The galaxy was still dangerous. New threats would emerge. Challenges would arise. But for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy's species were facing those challenges together. As partners. As equals. As friends. And that changed everything.